Global happenings today. We communicate. We analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. Sometime last week, the Senate the Green Chamber had talked about the issue of stripping both the VP and the governors of their immunity. Of course, at some point, hearing the outcry, they had to expunge that bill. But right now, it looks as if they're now Nigerians in particular, and it's not sitting well as organizations are beginning to cry out over the next move they're making. The bills are definitely not favorable to Nigerians. It's very anti-Nigerian as a common and an average citizen living in Nigeria as a Nigerian. Before going to the newspaper to find out what it is, kindly subscribe to our channel. According to the news, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, to immediately withdraw the oppressive bill which contains repressive provisions to jail any Nigerian of voting age for 6 months and or impose a fine of 100,000 naira on them if they fail to vote in national and state elections. Now, SERAP urged Mr. Akpabio and Mr. Abbas to instead amend the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended and the Electoral Act 2022 to remove constitutional immunity for state governors and their deputies and commit electoral offences, including vote buying, to facilitate investigation and prosecution of perpetrators. As SERAP also urged Mr. Akpabio and Mr. Abbas to amend the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act explicitly prohibits the appointment of members of any political party as resident electoral commissioners (RECs) of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). There is currently in the National Assembly a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make it mandatory for all Nigerians of majority age to vote in all national and state elections. And for related matters, the bill seeks to make voting compulsory and prescribes a 6-month jail term or fine of 100,000 naira or both for non-compliance. In the letter dated 29th of March 2025, and signed by SERAP, Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said, jailing eligible Nigerians for deciding not to vote will be entirely inconsistent and incompatible with the letter and spirit of the Nigerian Constitution and the country's international human rights obligation. SERAP said, and I quote, rather than proposing bills that would severely punish Nigerians who may decide not to exercise their right to vote, the National Assembly ought to propose bills to remove constitutional immunity for governors and their deputies who commit electoral offences and undermine the integrity of the electoral process. According to SERAP, the most effective way to solve perennial voter apathy is to create a safe and conducive environment, combat the immunity of high-ranking politicians who commit electoral offences, and generally improve the electoral process to encourage citizens to come out to vote and not to send them to jail. The letter said in part, and I quote, should the National Assembly fail to drop the bill prescribing a 6-month jail term for eligible Nigerians who decide not to vote in national and state elections, should any such bill be assented to by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, SERAP will consider appropriate legal action to challenge the legality of any such law and ensure they are never implemented. The idea of compulsory voting and jailing citizens for not voting is impracticable, unnecessary, and unlawful. The right to vote is part of citizens' right to participate in their own government, and the choice of whether to exercise is personal. The right to vote includes the right not to vote. If the right to participate is a right of citizens, she or he must be free to decide whether or not to exercise it. Because the notion of a democracy exists by virtue of the consent of citizens, voters must get to choose how they exercise consent, not to be forced to the polls like cattle to the slaughter. The National Assembly ought to propose bills to reduce the influence of money in politics and encourage and not compel the exercise of the right to participation. The proposed bill is a blatant violation of the right to political participation, which is guaranteed under Section 14, subsection 1c of the Nigerian Constitution, Article 25 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and Article 13 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, to which Nigeria is a state party. SERAP also urges you to amend the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act to include the explicit mandatory provisions on internet voters registration and the use of modern technology, including in casting and counting voter registration system and systems for reporting results. Amending the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act to explicitly include the right of eligible Nigerians to vote and to vote securely would enhance the effective enjoyment of their right, political participation, and representative democracy. It will rebuild public confidence in the ability of the National Assembly to effectively perform its constitutional responsibility. Any amendment of the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act must include bills to address and punish governors and their deputies and their agents who commit electoral offences, including voter suppression, voters' intimidation, and destruction of polling units or theft of electoral materials. Those were the words of SERAP. But then again, you can imagine to the extent to which the legislative arm, other things that could easily be addressed. It is Nigeria they want to now punish. My colleague is in the house. What's your take on this latest move? And as some of these bills are being passed, in a hurry, in quantum, that most Nigerians are not abreast with the latest things that are going on in the plenary and in the Senate. What's your take on this move made by SERAP?
Well, I think that when we talk about such bill, it's for me very laughable. Laughable in the sense that 2023 election, Nigerians lost confidence in INEC, in electoral process in Nigeria, because you're voting left and you are seeing right. Sometimes you go as far as defying the rain, defying bad weather, defying the violence of election day, and then you step out there to vote, and at the end of the day, because of some electioneering, bwahaha, they begin to tweak the results, and the person that everybody went for at the end of the day did not win the election. So now you are now trying to force them to come out and vote when the system already, electoral system, is questionable. How would they come out and vote when we know very well that whatever we do there, if it cannot be, election malpractice will not take place, it will be overturned in the law court? Does it make any sense? Sometimes people go an extra mile of even following up till the point of it being, uploaded and all of that. But, it came to a point whereby when they noticed that everything was going south, the uploading became an issue. Nobody was ready to upload again. Sometimes you finish doing it and the next thing you see your voter's card on the ground, or the voting documents or materials on the ground, and all your effort that you've wasted, it goes down the drain and all of that. So it's not compelling the people or putting up a punitive measure for the people, trying to compel them to come out. It's not the solution to all of this. The solution is clean up the electoral system. Let Nigerians see those they vote for being in power. Without stress, they'll come out and vote. But unfortunately, as we are talking right now, I can tell you that 80% of Nigerians would not want to be part of election, voting process again. Why? Because it's not giving us the kind of, the leaders that we need. You go out there, you vote, and at the end of the day, everything is squashed, and then you see a brand new, victory. You understand? Nigeria overturned the whole thing. So for me, I think it's a waste of time, because many Nigerians will be ready to go to that jail, I can promise you, because already, I'm telling you, because already it's quite unfair on our part that when we step out there to vote, we vote for people, and at the end of the election, malpractice takes over the day. It's quite troubling, I must say.
The funny part is when they say they will take Nigerians to jail, I'm just wondering how many jail buildings do we have? Can they contain over 200 million Nigerians? Let's not start what we cannot finish. And build your integrity, build your trust, and Nigerians will come out of it. That's going to wrap it up.